The Fantasmagorium presents a special presentation of the Cult Classic Movie Corner. Good day and ahoy. Today, we are discussing Ghostbusters.
We are. We are two bored guys on a Saturday, and we thought,
Don't forget drunk. We're drunk.
Let's mash together the Fantasmagorium show and Cult Classic Movie Corner, and we'll do a little Spengler Saturday, a celebration of Ghostbusters.
It's a crossover.
It's a crossover. We shouldn't cross the shows. That could cause total... what do they say?
Protonic reversion.
Protonic reversion, yeah. So we shouldn't do that. Important safety tips, Scotty.
Okay, yeah, no, that would be bad. Bad.
That would be bad. But yeah, well, it's Ghostbusters season all over again, with Ghostbusters Afterlife doing quite well in cinemas across the globe.
True.
A lot of countries has not gotten the movie yet, but most have. I got a chance to see it last Saturday.
Nice.
Indeed, last Saturday. And I gotta be honest, that show and that movie has been my most anticipated movie in 2020 and in 2021. So that was a huge deal, getting to see that movie. A sequel I have been waiting for 32 years. And no, the 2016 Women Ghostbusters movie was not a sequel.
We'll get to that.
Barely a movie. I'll tell you.
We'll get to that. But when were you introduced to Ghostbusters?
Don't remember the exact age, but I was in primary school. I was at a friend's house, my best friend at the time, so I think I was about 9-ish, maybe.
Okay.
9-ish.
Yeah.
We were at his house, and his dad had a huge VHS collection. The only person I knew who had a physical media collection at that time. So on the same sleepover night, we saw two movies. We saw the original Ghostbusters and Howard the Duck. So those two movies are really special to me because they were introduced to me at that point where I just swallowed them whole. Mm-hmm. But I remember Ghostbusters, of course, being the better movie of the two by a long way. But I do remember the movie. I just the humor was good. I had no idea who any of the actors were, but I just kind of fell into loving the concept of how the Ghostbusters were relating to each other, and the special effects were awesome. And I remember being insanely scared by the librarian ghost down in the New York City library.
Mm-hmm.
And catching ghosts, sexy Dana Barrett. I think she was the first to jiggle my peen, maybe.
Jiggle your peen.
She caused an uprising.
I'll allow it.
Maybe. And no,
she looked good in a red dress.
She looked good in a red dress, definitely. And the humor, I really liked the character of Louis Tully. The Terror Dogs. It was at that moment the most amazing, fantastical, imaginative movie I had seen.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also, I think that one of the things that is lost on today's moviegoers is I like seeing adults.
Mm-hmm.
I like seeing people who are more adept than myself. And so seeing schlubs who are more adept than myself. It is a play on being an exterminator franchise.
Yeah, basically.
These are not special people. There is no prophecy that they are going to take down Gozer or Vigo. They're just dudes
who created a business plan, basically, by believing in the
untested nuclear accelerators on their back.
Strapped on their back, yeah.
I blame myself.
And that's one of the beautiful things about the movie. I think you're onto something there. The fact that there isn't this whole supernatural thing about them. They kind of just stumble into this by being people who believe in the old alternative world, like spirits. Of course, Dan Aykroyd, of course, has his whole life been a spirit guy. He believes in ghosts and other dimensions, and he's pretty out there. But then they have, of course, the character of Egon, who is like this amazing scientist who, for some reason, is just working on this project. He's kind of awkward, I guess, but still, he is a genius because he and Dan Aykroyd's character make these contraptions, basically. Venkman is just he's almost like he's there just like hanging out with his friends. It doesn't seem like he has a lot of science to contribute.
Well, okay, so Venkman is a curious man.
He is.
He is, like, I wouldn't necessarily call him a scientist.
No, like Dana Barrett says I think in The Apartment, he says, you're a very odd scientist.
You're more of a game show host.
Yeah, you're more of a game show host, exactly.
But the thing is that he's still, like, he has curiosity.
Oh, yeah.
And he wants to know more about the things. Like, Venkman and Spengler being friends, pardon me, if I may be casual. When Peter and Egon became friends, like, I think that was because they had a mutual interest.
Yeah. We've never really heard, I think, how these guys got together. How, like, the backstory of how they got to know each other.
If we get a Ghostbusters prequel, I will murder you.
Oh, no, I will not want that. No.
I will not abide. I will not abide.
I am sure that the comics or, like, written fiction has most likely touched upon that, but I'm not a reader guy, so I haven't tapped into the comic world.
Oh, I can't read.
No, I can't. I only Braille.
Me too.
So I don't know about that. I just know this universe from the movies and the pretty excellent video game that came out some years ago now with the original cast.
Well, you know that, and absolutely, we'll get into that. But we still, okay, so first things first. The year was 1984.
Mm-hmm.
And Ghostbusters came out.
Yeah, 2 years after I was born.
Oh, you young pup.
I'm just some young yuppie larva, as Ray Stan says in the second movie.
Stupid yuppie larva. Referring to Jason Reitman.
Yes, we are referring to Jason Reitman. So this movie, obviously not a movie I saw when it came out. I saw it on VHS like years later. Mm-hmm. So I have no recollection of how Ghostbusters fever like went through the cinematic world in '84.
Mm-hmm. But you are a fan. What would you rate the first Ghostbusters on a scale from 1 to 5?
And very strong 5.
Okay. And I would agree. It is one of the most rewatchable films, no matter the time of year, time of day. It is amazing. The cast is amazing. The story is amazing. Like, if you have not yet seen Ghostbusters, or if you know someone who has not yet seen Ghostbusters, I highly recommend it. Share it.
I'm almost there that I want to knock on doors and say, do you have time to talk about Ghostbusters? Kind of like...
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. Have you heard the good news?
Jehovah's Witness, yes. Have you heard the good news? Do you have time to talk about Jesus? And there's such a huge community. Even though this is a movie that did quite well when it came out, it's still, I think, fair to call it a cult classic because it has this tremendous cult following. You have all these people who make their own Ecto-1s. They do cosplaying. They go to conventions. They have like chapters. You have the Chicago Ghostbusters, the Philadelphia Ghostbusters. And when I went to New York in 2011, the number one place I wanted to go was Hook and Ladder number 8. So I could stand outside that fucking firehouse and just lick it all in. Being there, seeing that fire station, the fact that it was a real building it was mind-boggling.
Picking up or dropping off?
Yeah, basically. I was there late at night, so sadly the door wasn't open, because I've seen other pictures of people going inside and they have the Ghostbusters 2 sign that was outside the building. But still, amazing being there. Not knowing until like later into adulthood that building in fact was real.
Yes, agreed. But I think that speaks to the fandom of Ghostbusters, and I think it speaks to the movie itself, is that New York City is a character in the first Ghostbusters.
Yeah, and the second.
To a lesser extent, but yes. Like, there's something about Ghostbusters 2 that does feel a little bit more contrived, but the first one, I don't feel like I'm in a fake world. I feel like I'm in New York City.
I agree. It does feel quite real, and also we have to mention, I know you're in agreement with me on this soundtrack. So many
Saving the Day
on that. Saving the Day by Alessi.
Alexa, look up Cleaning Up the Town by the Bus Boys. Quite. Like, that is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Yeah.
That's top 10.
Yep, I agree. And
so,
no, it's about as perfect to me as you can make a movie. The cast, the effects, practical effects, some digital. It's so good. The story is interesting. It's like you say, it's believable, and it's a fact. I remember seeing one of these making of documentaries that they were really nervous about the audience reaction when this the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was going to march down the street, and they said, if the audience are with us at that point, we know that we've made an amazing movie, because that is just so unbelievable. But the way it's presented in the movie, it's who else could come there but this giant marshmallow man?
Okay. So you remember the spoilers for Ghostbusters. So remember when Pete Venkman goes over to Dana Barrett's apartment and he's got the squeezy thing?
Yep.
And then he starts playing the piano and it's like, they hate this.
Yeah.
And at that moment, when Dana Barrett, clearly the most intelligent person in the entire movie, is like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And it's like, and Pete says, they hate this. Trust me. At that moment, the movie progresses and it's like, just leave all of your questions alone.
It's best to do that.
Yeah.
It is, and I also really like the comment when he's trying to go into the bedroom and she says, nothing ever happened in there. And he's like, what a shame.
What a crime.
What a crime. Yeah. Oh, you have a better memory than me.
I love Bill Murray. Bill Murray is amazing in this movie, and in the entire cast in the first Ghostbusters. Like,
they are amazing.
Annie Potts.
Annie Potts. I had no idea what SNL was when I watched this movie. I know now, but still today, Saturday Night Live isn't really a thing in Norway. It's never been a thing over here. So I knew nothing about that connection with all the actors, many of the actors coming from that show and knowing each other from before. But so what I just kind of snapped into, I think, was this entire feeling of camaraderie and how they almost seemed like a family. And I have to say the like the screen chemistry between Bill Murray and Dana Barrett is amazing. Well, Winkman and Dana Barrett is amazing.
Sigourney Weaver. Yes.
They play off each other so well, and they continue doing so in the second movie. And the short scene in Afterlife where they are playing together, it's like they've never been apart. It's just they're right back in that setting, and it just shows that those two actors really do have great chemistry together.
Yeah, and we'll get there. Yeah. So on a scale from 1 to 10, what would you put Ghostbusters?
1 to 10, we already did 1 to 5.
Yeah, but now I'm doubling down.
Doubling down. Well, it's a 10.
Okay. So now Ghostbusters 1, who played Winston Zeddemore? Ernie Hudson.
Ernie Hudson, yeah.
Also amazing.
Very good.
Who's that Ramis boy?
That Ramis boy? Harold Ramis?
Yes.
Was he also on Saturday Night Live?
He was on SCTV.
Okay.
And he was he was a prolific writer and director. He did Stripes, and he did, I think, the first National Lampoon's Vacation.
That might be. Is he American or Canadian?
He is American.
Okay, but Dan Aykroyd is Canadian.
Yes, he's from Kingston.
Yeah, from Kingston. Yeah.
Crazy man.
Should we move on to talking about the second movie?
The Scoleri brothers!
Tried him for murder. Gave him the chair.
I gave him the chair! Yes, I love Ghostbusters 2.
I also am a huge fan of Ghostbusters 2. I have never understood the amount of hate that movie gets.
No.
It has all the things. It has the actors, the original crew. It has the effects, the humor. It's more humorous, I guess, than the first one. And maybe some people felt that the humor kind of outdone or outdid the scary elements. But for me, Ghostbusters,
I don't know, those heads on pikes in the middle of the underground subway.
Yeah, well, that's pretty.
That was kind of scary.
That was kind of scary, and I like the whole setting. It's like we open with like 5 years later. Dana is out strolling with her carriage. We see some pink slime. Something strange happens, and who is she going to call? Well, Egon in this case. And he's there being busy working, measuring positive and negative feelings, and they just get into it. And I also like the fact that he and not like Dana and Venkman has split up, which makes sense because I can't imagine him being a easy person to live with. I can't imagine that. So
yeah, no. And Dana did break up with Pete.
They did.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't want him to be in on the project, but of course he
I believe when Pete started referring to Dana as the old ball and chain. But that was that's believable character development.
It is. And that will happen in a relationship many times. But it's
If I may, for just one moment, Cam is here.
Hello, Cam.
Would you like to read his chat?
I'll do it with my fingers since I only read Braille, but it's okay.
Quite.
He says, well, hello, gentlemen. It's great to see you guys. It's been a while. Ghostbusters 1 is one of the greatest movies of my childhood, coming out in 1984. Indeed, it is.
Totes.
Ooh, there's more people here. Todd Michael
I know.
Jasinski.
We
Hello,
garnered a
and I'm here
crowd.
as well. That's good. We've only been here for 20 minutes, so...
Yeah.
But yeah, Ghostbusters 2, I like the way it opens. I like how they kind of, through Dana Barrett, once again, they kind of get the troops together and they have to find out what the hell is going on. And I have to say, when you get deeper into the movie, my favorite character in this movie is Janosch.
I'm a big fan of Janosch. Peter McNichol is fucking awesome.
He is the most quotable character in that movie. He has so many great lines, and the creepy
Terje. Everything that you're doing is wrong.
I want you to know this. So Scott,
I love it.
Can I take you to a brunch or something?
No.
And you say no. Okay.
All right. Okay.
But yeah, no. He does a great job, and I remember when I got introduced to the second movie was also on VHS, but I rented it at like the video store. And I and like 2 or 3 friends, we were sitting on the floor in front of a CRT television and popped it in, and that's the first time I saw it, and I was blown away because I didn't like, this is pre-internet, so I didn't even know there was a sequel to Ghostbusters until it was on that shelf in the Norway store.
Well, and I have just a completely divergent question for you. Have you seen Ghostbusters, like the original, in a movie theater?
Yes, I have. When they restored the movie, the Oslo Cinematheque made a one-off screening of it. So I've seen the 4K restored version in a cinema. And that was just like 5 years ago. So.
Oh, and I think when I saw it in a theater was probably in 2013, 14. And so, but yeah, no, I've seen it, and it's a great cinematic experience. Ghostbusters 2, I've never seen in a theater, but I would love to. Also, I have a question. Were you introduced to Jackie Wilson by Ghostbusters 2 as a young man at the time? Yeah.
I was.
Yeah. He loves Jackie Wilson. Your love.
That toaster really loves Jackie Wilson. But yeah, also this movie...
Well, and also Egon, let's be fair, Egon does have intimate relations with the slime.
He does sleep with it, yeah. That's a thing.
So does that mean that he like fondues his weenus?
I don't know. I don't know what the slime does. It's charged by positive and negative feelings, so I don't know what kind of feelings it gets when it's in bed with Egon.
I understand the joke, but I don't get the joke.
No,
it's like I don't know. When you say sleep, do you mean cuddle? Do you mean big spoon? Or do you mean that you fleshlight the slime?
I don't know. I don't think we really want to know, I guess.
Agreed. Let's move on.
But yeah, the soundtrack in this is also good. It's very different, but I have to say I really do like Bobby Brown's theme song for this movie, On Our Own.
Mm-hmm.
Now the cameo is also fun, but I do like the 80s rap song On Our Own. I quite frequently listen to it on Spotify in my car.
And it's an interesting point that you bring up, is I enjoy the soundtracks to the first 2 Ghostbusters movies immensely.
Yeah, they're great. And even though I'm jumping ahead, that's one of the things that is lacking from Afterlife. A good soundtrack in the sense of songs. They have a lot of cues in the score back to the original movies, but they lack that awesome piece of like original songs, music. Yeah.
Okay, so
But
Ghost.
what are your thoughts on? I'm really interested to see what you think about the villain in this one, Vigo, because I am just so enamored by the whole concept.
You know what? In terms of comparison between Gozer and Vigo, I do find Vigo to be a lesser spirit. But I still find him to be a credible threat to the entire film. Like, I don't think like he's even more of a threat than Gozer was, because Vigo takes over Ray. Like, he possesses Ray
when he's measuring stuff on the painting.
Yeah, and that's scary. And
It is
ghosts are scary.
And also, like in the beginning, where you're just starting to see hints of him being alive. Janosch is doing some work, and you just see the head like kind of popping out of the canvas. And ever since I saw that movie, I've just loved that big canvas painting of Vigo. So I realized a small dream. A couple of years ago, I found this really high-res image on the web, and I printed the picture on canvas, and I have it on my wall over there. It's not the same size as the museum piece, but still.
Well, that would be big.
That would be big. I would have to have a bigger apartment for that. But still, I get the feeling of having Vigo over there, and I just every day I look at that painting, and it's just a reminder of me how big of a fucking nerd I am.
Well, and do you remember when they ultimately defeat Vigo, and the painting, it changes to the Ghostbusters?
It's probably one of the only things I don't like about the movie. I find it too camp and just too silly. I don't like it. I know a lot of other people like it and also have that painting on their wall, but I just, no. To me, that moment takes me a bit out of the movie, because
okay,
they defeated Vigo, but was he like a secret masterful painter? So when he died, he just made sure that he left an awesome Renaissance picture of the Ghostbusters. It's dumb.
Well, I don't mean to wax intellectual about the situation, but when you're talking about spirits and good and evil, and if when you defeat Vigo, you get a representation of that on canvas, I'm okay with it. It's kind of I agree. I understand where you're coming from in terms of it being a bit too much in the saccharine side.
Yeah.
But I do like it. It makes my heart grow.
I'll take it. I don't have a problem with that at all. What other scenes pop out in this movie?
Out of a scale from 1 to 18, what would you give Ghostbusters 2?
Can we do 10? You're starting to do maths and fractions with me, and I can't do
on a scale. On a scale from the periodic table of elements, between AU and I don't know.
I give it 6.5 pi.
Okay, great. So that's 3.14 times 6, but it's no integers. Damn it.
Carry the 8. No, well, in 1 to 10, I'd give it an 8. An 8.
And the first one is a 10.
In my heart, the movies are kind of equal. I kind of actually more enjoy the second, but I do, as a critical movie watcher, I do realize and see that the first one is a better movie.
Oh, yeah. But
so I'm trying to be objective and not too subjective.
Well, and also Ghostbusters 2 was released in the summer of sequels. Like, that was Star Trek 5, Lethal Weapon 2, like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Like that was the summer of sequels. Batman was the one who won. Yeah. But it was, so I appreciated Ghostbusters 2 in terms of getting the band back together and I thought it worked.
And there's so many great moments of like humor in it.
You're a terrible burden on your mother. You smell bad. I love the interaction between Pete and Oscar.
Named after a hot dog, you poor kid. And Oscar. And of course, you mentioned the Scolari brothers. That's a great scene with them like popping the courtroom chairs all over the place. Also, great effect of those two ghosts.
Well, and I forget the name of the actor who plays the judge, but that judge is an amazing actor.
Oh, I can't remember the name of the actor, but the judge is called Judge Brexler.
Either way, he's one of the best Cardassians in Deep Space Nine. He was an amazing villain in Narrow Margin. I love that actor.
I also do, and every time I see him in something, I'm like, oh, it's the judge from Ghostbusters 2.
Me too.
That's like my reference point for that actor. So he'll always be the judge from Ghostbusters 2 for me.
Agreed.
He is called Harris Yulin.
He is Harris Yulin, and God rest him. Is he dead?
I'll check.
I hope not. I hope he's currently in a rocking chair.
Alive and well. He actually, the last thing he did was in 2020. So he's still kind of active. Good.
Yeah. Vibrant
the
man.
From Ghostbusters 2 is still working.
Yeah, not a ghost.
Not a ghost. Other scenes in this movie, that's great. You mentioned the song Higher and Higher, and the Statue of Liberty walking down the streets of New York being controlled by a Nintendo Super Controller.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting scene.
Yeah, whatevs. I chalk it up to the 80s.
It is the 80s. And
it's one of those things where it's a plot contrivance. Like, if your suspension of disbelief is removed after they sprayed the joy slime, and it's like they're controlling this with a joystick, and it's like, yeah, it's fucking Ghostbusters. Relax.
It's fun.
It's fun. Yeah. Shut up, Karen.
It's supposed to be like this.
It's true. This man has no dick.
Yeah, and it's fun. Also, they having a similar protagonist to Dickless in the other government guy who is working in this. Is it his name's Brian Fuller?
Yes.
Yes, I remembered. And he is about as big an asshole as the first one. And
but he's a great. He, as an actor, Brian Fuller is it Brian Fuller? I don't think it's Brian Fuller. Is it?
Kurt Fuller.
Kurt Fuller is a great stickler in the same way that Richard Atherton was.
Yeah. And you need a good stickler in a Ghostbusters movie to kind of make things tricky for the guys.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's part of the failure of Ghostbusters 2016 is that they tried to make Bill Murray the stickler.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Guess we can jump into that one.
Well, before we move into the wetting the bed that is Ghostbusters 2016, big fan of 1 and 2. Yes. They are.
I watch them annually. Yeah,
they are irreproachable joy.
Feel good movies, kind of like snuggling up with a blanket as a kid with a bowl of cereal, and the world outside didn't matter. You had no problems. The Ghostbusters would fix everything. They're a big blanket of joy. That's what they are.
I heard you guys were just con men.
My dad says you're just con men. I think that's it's a cool thing of this whole merry-go-round of the Ghostbusters family. The fact that the annoying kid in Ghostbusters 2, the birthday scene, was the son of Ivan Reitman, who has now rekindled the Ghostbusters hearts with making Ghostbusters Afterlife. It's really come full circle.
But before we get to the rekindling,
Yeah, we have that piece of garbage.
hang on. I would
No.
like to assess it independently of the Ghostbusters. Here's what I think.
Okay.
I
I'm
think
listening.
that Sony had a franchise and they knew they could make money off of that nostalgic franchise. And I think that they did a business job on the Ghostbusters. I don't think they did a bad job. I just think that they went out into the world and tried to recapture lightning in a bottle, and the world said no.
Yeah, the world basically said that's some urine that a homeless man has put on that bottle, sir.
Now, but this also carries over into Ghostbusters Afterlife. I only want four things from my Ghostbusters movie, and that is Pete, Ray, Egon, and Winston.
Yeah. And of course, you do get that, but just for a very short time. But that kind of makes sense. It's been 32 years since they made the last one. All these people have become old people. Ernie Hudson is
dead.
or dead. Or dead. But Ernie Hudson is the one of them that seems kind of the most spruce. So good on him. But I'm not going to use a lot of time discussing 2016. I'll say that I went into the theater really, really, really wanting to like it because I'm such a big fan of Ghostbusters, but I felt they kind of missed all the marks. And one of the things I felt was most insulting was the fact that they had the original cast doing these other character cameos, because it's just a slap in the face saying that this movie has nothing to do with what you loved. It's not a continuation, like you said. This is them trying to just reboot the franchise, trying to make a new set of movies, and they try to do the same thing. They pull actors from SNL together, see if they have the chemistry, and they just overplayed the slapstick of it all. I have a lesser problem with them being girls than the fact that the movie just wasn't good.
I enjoy all of the actors. Like, I enjoy everyone in the movie. I just think that the movie itself, it was a wet fart or a wet sandwich. It was wet, but not sexy.
It's sad when a movie that is supposed to be about four awesome girls, and it ends up the fact that the only man in it is the guy who is funny, Hemsworth playing the stupid secretary. He kind of stole every scene he was in, even though he was also very over the top.
But that's also, it's a commentary on modern comedy, is that I'm like, I remember seeing a thing with John Cleese talking about the difference between American comedy and British comedy. And British comedy enjoys cutting the legs out from under. And American comedy likes being superior.
There's a huge difference.
And so, and there is a huge difference. But Ghostbusters is a Bugs Bunny comedy. It's not about looking at people who think they're good who aren't. It's about people who are achieving. Like, does that work? Well, I think so. Like,
Yeah.
Bill Murray is Bugs Bunny. He is the real life Bugs Bunny. And everyone around him is succeeding with him. But I think that the 2016 is much more about that sort of awkward comedy where you laugh at people failing. And that's not
Yeah.
Ghostbusters.
People falling on their face.
Yeah, and that's not Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Slapstick.
Ghostbusters is about trying to do something impossible and, in the spite of all logic, succeeding.
Yeah. And that's exactly what Sony came out of it with, that the fans were angry. They didn't get what they wanted. And Ghostbusters Afterlife.
The worst thing in the world is that Kate McKinnon doesn't enjoy me.
She doesn't enjoy you?
I don't think so. I don't think she's a fan.
I think she'd like you.
No, I don't think so.
I think so.
Okay.
I'll ask her.
Fingers crossed.
But yeah, Sony, they started preparations for making Ghostbusters Afterlife, gave it to Jason Reitman. The story was written. Well,
Let's get into Jason Reitman for just a tick. The man is a very successful and accomplished writer-director.
He is.
He is no slouch.
He's no slouch, and he's made good movies, and he will continue to do so. But he was the natural choice to make the Ghostbusters movie that the Ghostbusters audience wanted. And many people will
You've seen it.
Attack. Yeah, I've seen it. Like last weekend. Yeah,
I have not.
So I know you have not, but I've spoken.
Do
to
they
you about
win?
This movie.
Do the Ghostbusters win?
No, everybody dies.
Okay, great.
So the next Ghostbusters movie, it'll be all ghosts in Ghost World.
That's what I wanted.
Before we go into the third and final movie in this Spengler Saturday special, do we have any interesting comments?
Oh, you want to go to the chat?
There's only 3 Ghostbusters movie. This 2016 thing, another piece of crap. It doesn't belong here.
Man, like, I don't think that's fair.
Well, it's a lifestyle. It's how I live my life.
I like Kristen Wiig. If you're a Kristen Wiig fan, watch it. If you are a Kate McKinnon fan, watch it. If you're a Shirley Jones, Leslie Jones.
If you don't care about Ghostbusters, watch it.
Well, no, but like the thing about the 2016 Ghostbusters is that it's a Saturday Night Live movie. And if you're a dummy, so is 1984 Ghostbusters.
You know what? The 2016 movie, it would have been better as a SNL sketch.
Oh, Alexa, look up the Ghostbusters porn parody. It is better. It is better.
Not seen that, not heard of it, don't know if it exists, but
I've only seen like 4 minutes of it, and then I'm done.
Straight after this show, I'm gonna go heavy into it.
Oh no, totally, totes. Anyway, so then we get to Ghostbusters. We get to Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Cam has a comment on the 2016.
Cam says
2016 was a spectacular failure. I haven't seen Afterlife yet. I've heard great things, but I wish we had gotten all 4 of the original Ghostbusters. Harold Ramis was a genius way before this, and yes, I agree. I agree. I will warn you though, Cam. The movie has been out for a while, so the discussion of Afterlife is going to be with spoilers. So if you are
I don't care about spoilers.
He doesn't care. He is a spoiler whore on the receiving end. But for anyone else out there, this would maybe be a good time to say thanks for all the fish. I'll see you later. Because Afterlife will contain some spoilers, because we need to tie this stuff into the family aspect of this. Movie starts off really, really good with a scene in the Shandor mines in this small town called Somerville. You will remember
Ivo Shandor?
Ivo Shandor was the guy who made the plans.
He was the architect who made Spook Central.
Spook Central, the apartment complex that Dana Barrett lives in, and in this
Central
town
Park West,
called
yeah.
Somerville, he has a mine that was established in 1926, I think.
Spooky
and
year.
This is where they have mined the Silesium. I think it was called the stuff that
Doesn't
was
matter.
made into girders to make the apartment.
Doozers made girders out of radishes. Who cares?
And there's a scene where this car is like speeding out of there after you've seen the mine, and you see like this neutron field that goes up, and you hear the sounds. You realize that okay, it's most likely Spengler doing some work up there, and he's in a car speeding off, and they play it very much in shadows. So you can see that it's supposed to be Spengler, but they never light him up too much, so it seems really real.
Well, because he's dead.
He's dead. But they did this. Please remember that they did this with the full blessing of his family. They were involved in how he was portrayed. So this is very much so a piece of respect and not a piece of using him for the purpose. They could not have made.
But that's an important distinction. Like I think that
totally
the blessing, yeah, like in like when and not to sort of tangent, but we'll get back to Ghostbusters in a second. When Carrie Fisher was digitally recreated, Billy Lord or whatever Carrie Fisher's daughter's name is, totes fine. She's fine.
Yep.
Like when the family, and also the relationship between Harold Ramis and his daughter, lovely. So, and I do think that there is a certain level of respect in terms of the film when it comes to the marketing and the action figures of the movie. I do think that it is representative of the money grubbing nature of Hollywood.
They put out a figure set that's called The Family That Busts Together, which is of his granddaughter and
it's also
Egon.
The Family That Busts Together is also a category on Pornhub.
Okay. I'll believe you.
Don't look it up.
Okay, I won't. But yeah, the opening, very exciting opening, and then he does his best. It's obvious that this is something he has been working on for a long time. We see the ghost chasing him. His technology to kind of ward the ghost off from his farmhouse fails, and ultimately Egon meets his demise. And that's
how does he die? How does he die?
They try to possess him just like they did with Dana, while she's sitting in the chair and the arms come up.
Sure.
So they basically tried to make him into the Keymaster.
So the movie starts with a CGI Egon.
Yeah, no, an actor, I think, which is just in shadows. You never see quite his face. You just see some beard and the hairdo. So it's but I need to see the movie again because I'm not sure exactly what happens, because he has one of those PKA meters with a new function where there's a kind of like a taser at the bottom. And I think maybe he killed himself to not be possessed by the terror dog.
I don't like
Either that or, well, I think it works because he's been he knew that if he was possessed, it would be the end of this, because he's the only guy who believes that Ghoster is coming back and working towards him not coming back. So if he kills himself, he will know that he has an ability to follow this. And there's a really beautiful scene where you realize that he has passed away and all the ghosts are gone, but then you still see the PKA meter go off. And that, of course, means that there's a ghost in the room, and the ghost is Egon Spengler.
Nice.
And then you get acquainted with his family living somewhere in the city. He's passed away. His grandchildren have never seen him. His daughter believes that he abandoned
the family lives in New York?
I don't know if it's New York. I don't I'm not sure if that was made clear where it was, but they live in a city, and Egon lives in like a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
But it's very early established that his daughter feels that he abandoned her, and she has had no real relationship to her father. So to her, it's like, well, he's dead. Okay, I'm gonna have to work out this inheritance. We're gonna go there, find out what this is all about, and then the movie kind of kicks into. I think it's fair to say, and everyone's compared it, but it is fair to say that it's kind of a riff on Stranger Things. It's like young kids stumbling over a mystery, some supernatural stuff.
I don't like the Goonies, so I don't like Stranger Things.
I do, so I don't have a problem with it, and I think it's a good way to tell this story because the kids can be kind of the conduit between the adult world and the Ghostbusters, and of course this whole thing about family, this being his granddaughter, and she looks like him, she has the same glasses. Are you having ticks?
No, I'm just saying I don't. This is why I haven't seen the movie. I don't care. This entire necessity of making children, like when I was a kid, when I watched movies, I didn't want to identify with other children. I wanted to find aspirational adults. And so when they do this, I don't like it. I don't like it because I want the people who have agency as opposed to the people who are scolded for staying up after the streetlights come on.
No, and I do get that, and I do get that criticism. The fact that people don't like the whole aspect of kids kind of being the protagonist in an adult story. I get it. I didn't have a problem with it, but I do get the points of it. I do.
Yeah, no, in terms of a storytelling thing and all the way, hello, Yvette.
Hello, Yvette.
But I just don't like that. I don't like the idea in storytelling. Like, I understand that there are obstacles that your main characters have to overcome, but I don't like the lazy storytelling of making your protagonists children and adulthood is the thing that they have to buck up against.
No, I get it, and I actually don't disagree. I don't. I objectively, I think you have.
I accept your apology.
I'm sorry, sir.
Don't.
But yeah, I think
so. It goes on. It goes on. The movie.
It goes on. Yeah, it goes on. They get introduced to Mr. Gruberson, who is played by Paul Rudd, who is basically playing Paul Rudd.
Which is a great performance. I love Paul Rudd.
Don't get me wrong. I love Paul Rudd, so I don't have a problem with it. But he is the same person in every movie.
Well, okay. A quick question aside from the Ghostbusters conversation. Terje, can I see you at camera 2?
Okay.
Okay. So have you ever seen the movie They Came Together?
No, I haven't.
It is a parody of romantic comedies. It stars Paul Rudd and Amy Poehler, and it is probably the best satire, parody, spoof that I've seen since The Naked Gun.
Nice.
Nice. I highly recommend it.
Noted.
Moving on.
Well, and then the adults come into the story, and I don't want to go into detail about all that happens, but many people will say, and they're not wrong, that this movie has a large amount of fan service. But let me just say this: if you're a fan, is fan service wrong? No, because I want to see this shit. I want this service. And if you're not a fan, will you notice the fan service? Probably not. So for me, this works. It totally works. They have musical cues, the equipment. We see props from the old movies. And
Do they play Cleaning Up the Town?
They don't. And like I
Then
told you
fuck
a little
this
while
movie.
ago. Okay.
What about the soundtrack?
That's the end of our show.
What was the soundtrack? How was the soundtrack to Ghostbusters Afterlife?
Very forgettable. Except the score.
Shame.
Yeah, and that's one of the criticisms the movie has got.
Do you know who did the score?
I don't, but I will click and find out.
Oh,
but there's obviously a lot of callbacks to Elmer Bernstein's original score.
Well, and that's like when people talk about movies and their legacies, a lot of it does have to do with the musical score and the themes that made you feel the way that you felt.
Yeah. And
so if there is that sort of Elmer Bernstein vibe to the score, that's a feather. But part of the reason, like Ghostbusters by Ray Parker Jr. was top of the Billboard.
Oh yeah.
So
Rob Simmons. Rob Simonson. Simonson. It's a Nordic name. Simonson.
Simonson.
He made the music. Not seeing a lot of stuff on his that I know here, but still, he has 66 music credits.
So on a scale from 1 to Slimer.
From 1 to Slimer, I'll give it 2.5 exploded marshmallows.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I have to see it again. I've just seen it the one time.
Yeah, but your initial reaction...
A week or 7.
A week 7. Okay, so 6.
A strong 6.
What's
weeks?
So let's go. Okay, let's recap for the cheap seats.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters is a 10.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters 2 is a 7.
8.
Agreed. Ghostbusters 2016 is not worth mentioning.
Yeah.
And Ghostbusters Afterlife is a
week 7. I think I'd like to keep it for now on the 7 side. I have to see it again to kind of establish where I am, because seeing a movie like this after waiting for 32 years, it's the adrenaline and the joy can get to you. Either when I watch it a second time, it's going to be as good or maybe better, or it's going to feel like, okay, it's not that strong of a movie. But at this moment, I'm really happy about the way they made the sequel. It has the heart of the Ghostbusters, and that's the most important thing. The humor, the effects, the ghosts, the callbacks, the music, the score, and of course, seeing the end battle when they go up against Gozer again, and having Harold Ramis's ghost, or Egon Spengler's ghost, show up along with the other 3 original Ghostbusters was, I have to say, very, very, very heartwarming. I did tear up. It was an emotional moment. It felt like it was just Ghostbusters heart all over again.
Well, and you and I shared spoilers when we saw the interaction between Pete and Dana.
Yeah, there's a great mid-credit scene where they revisit that opening of Ghostbusters, where Winkman is testing 2 college co-eds with mind-reading tricks
and electric shocks.
And it gets established that he's marked the cards. That's the one thing, because he guesses them all and he isn't psychic. And he did not enjoy being on the receiving end of those electrical shocks.
But that was the most, like, when I saw that sort of that snippet, that is what I wanted from the whole movie.
Yeah. And everyone going into this movie would have loved to see a movie just about the original cast once again doing something, but they're too old,
Or
it's
dead.
tough, or dead, and it's tough to get it done. And if they want to kick this movie off and have a new franchise, which they didn't accomplish in 2016, which they are going to accomplish now, be sure about it.
Well,
they have to have this passing of the torch. So I think when the next movie comes out, I think maybe the original Ghostbusters will again have a smaller role, and we will see that maybe ghost sightings will rise again, and maybe they will start having like chapters where you have like Starbucks that you sell this franchise to.
Well, that's
people.
what that's like they say that in the original movie, the franchise writes alone.
Yes, and that never happened, but I do believe that is going to happen now.
I hope so.
I hope so, because I'd like more Ghostbuster stuff.
No, yeah, and have you played the video game?
Yeah, years ago. I haven't played the remastered edition. When I finally get my hands on the PlayStation 5 in maybe the year 2026, I'll pick the remastered game up. I played the original when it came on Xbox, and I loved it because you could be a Ghostbusters. You could have the proton pack and the proton wand, and you had the original cast doing voices. You even got to go down in the basement and catch that damn library ghost. So for a fan, it hit like all the right spots.
Oh, and if you haven't played it for yourself and for everyone watching, yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing. And
I played it on the Wii, which was a bad choice because I'm terrible with the wand. I thought that would be the best way because it would feel like Ghostbusters. But I have an Xbox, and so I'm going to do that.
Do that. And if you're not a gamer and you're just hungry for more Ghostbusters, YouTube has a really long video where you get all the cutscenes from the game, or you can also watch like a long play. Not all
the
people
Fantasmagorium will probably end up having a Twitch channel at some point, and we'll play Ghostbusters. It'll be great.
Cult Classic Twitch Corner.
Oh, that sounds dirty.
I know.
Anyway,
that's what I do on my OnlyPants page.
Terjai Tiberius Mork. Do you have anything else to say about the Ghostbusters?
We've had a good hour of fun talking about these movies. I never grow tired of talking about them.
We didn't even say anything about Annie Potts.
She's sexy.
She is.
And a good actor.
Yes, quite. No argument.
She's even sexy when she's Mima.
I don't know what that means.
She plays Sheldon Cooper's grandmother on the spin-off from...
Yeah, no, I don't watch anything related to The Big Bang Theory, except for the theme song. I love the Bare Naked Ladies. Anyway, do you have anything else to say, sir? I don't mean to cut it off, but...
Thanks for coming and watching this impromptu Spengler Saturday with two guys who live in snowy countries, get together, talk about Ghostbusters, rant a little, laugh a little. Scott interrupts me. It's all good.
Shut up!
See you on the flip side, peeps.
True story.